Hi class, welcome to Module 1. This is going to be the week where we focus on the narrative nonfiction assignment, which in a sense is a story similar in ways to your first fiction piece. But this is creative nonfiction. So you're going to use storytelling elements that you would use in fiction, but it's going to be a real story or a true story of something that occurred in your life. When I say you're going to use fictional elements, I don't say you're going to make things up. I mean, you're going to use things like details, which are outlined in Chapter 3, which is assigned this week. So be sure to read Chapter 3 in The Making of a Story, your Alice LaPlante book, because this will focus on what we call in writing the concept of show, don't tell, and the concept of using your senses. So that's what I really will be looking for in your narrative nonfiction. Are you using the senses to really paint a picture of this occurrence, this moment of time in your life, so that the reader is essentially there with you, is sitting there in whatever room you're sitting in and seeing that object that's sitting next to you, seeing what perhaps your grandparent wore or your parents wore, what your house looked like, smelled like, getting the sense of what it smelled like, getting the sense of what the food tasted like, perhaps, or even we'll be exploring more of this sort of synesthesia when we get into poetry. But that can also apply to prose writing as well, where you are tasting the sadness or tasting what does that taste like. So really thinking about the details, really showing versus telling, and this is why in the introduction I'm having you explore this from the perspective of an object in your space, your physical space, and how that object tells your story. So I want to give you sort of an introduction to what that's like. I'm going to be, I have threads in the discussion that help with the assignment further and it will give you some prompts. But right now in the discussions, you have the introduction thread, you have your engagement thread that isn't part of our grading, but you should just read that and make sure you're up on what engagement means. And there will be a thread where the first thread after that is reading. And it's a piece called My Dad Tried to Kill Me with an Alligator, which kind of shows the humor in narrative nonfiction. And so it's a good introduction to kind of what we're talking about. I've also added a piece that I wrote to kind of give you another sort of perspective on how that can look. So one piece is humor, my piece is not quite as humorous, it's more reflective. So it can be a little bit of anything. And then there's another discussion that will sort of apply after you do your first journal and come up with some memories that you might be working with for this narrative nonfiction. So this is where we're going to start. If you have any questions, I'll be in the discussions. You can send me an email. My number's there also to text. Just be aware that I'm in Mountain Time, not Eastern Standard Time. And that's it. We'll get started and have a good semester. And here we go.